Please note that the content of this episode has explicit language and is not suitable for underage listeners. Hi, I'm CJ, and I've done phone sex for 23 years, so let's get started. I'd like to remind you that I look forward to reading your questions and comments, so please email me at phonesexqueen1@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you. The other night, I got the following messages, and I replied. Would you fuck me in front of my wife and make her jealous and make her watch you fuck me in her bed and make her your little bitch? You know how I feel about that. I said, oh my, I could do that, ... And the reply was, but would you? And I said, I would. Not sure how to make her my bitch other than telling her you love my pussy so much more than hers. He goes, would you be turned on if I wanted you to slap her around and tell her that you're going to take everything and anything you want from her? I said it would, however, I wouldn't literally slap her, not into hitting women. It sounds more like a verbal slap. And he said, no, I want you to beat her up. Now, okay, I know that I take things too literally sometimes, but knowing this is a phone call doesn't make it any different to me, because in their mind, they're thinking, good, they found a woman who's going to beat up my wife. And they have this visual. I can't give them that. For whatever reason, I always think about it's just on the phone. And listening to the way this guy was talking, what happens is things have changed. He says, I want you to take anything and everything, or everything and anything. So what that implies to me is that this is going to, if it were to be a phone call, this is going to change into a blackmail type of conversation. I never understood the blackmail thing, and I think I brought that up before. How do you blackmail someone over the phone? I could say, yeah, I'm going to take everything from your wife and from you, and you're going to be living in a living hell, and I'm going to tell your wife about you and what you're doing unless you give me all the information. And how does that work? And I know I'm getting excited. I'm sorry. I know that they want to feel powerless, and it's really all up to them to give me the information so that I can render them powerless, and telling them I'm going to hit their wife and I'm going to take everything and I'm going to tell them what you've done and I'm going to take all your money and they're going to have nothing and you're going to have nothing. And I've seen and read how people have done this. They've really taken the money. The guys have really given them the information. But I explained it in a previous podcast. It doesn't work for me. And so since I know where this is going to go, or I believe I know where it's going to go, I cut it off at the knees. I cut it off way before it gets started so that I can move along. My whole goal is for my caller to enjoy the experience. And if I'm not good at it, and if I'm not going to enjoy it, he's not going to enjoy it, and he isn't going to call back. So there's no point. You know, I'm going to lose a caller and he's going to be unhappy. And really, I just don't want to be a part of the blackmail thing. I would rather just have him hang up. And that is the end of that one. I know that's me kind of rambling, but, you know, he wanted me to slap her. And it's like, yeah, I can slap her and, you know, make a noise like that. But really, I don't know. That doesn't work for me. Sometimes it does, but not in this case. Someone asked me the other day if I offer advice to people that call me, and my initial response was no, absolutely not. You know, it's really like anything in life. Do you really want to be blamed for something? I don't. So unless someone asks me directly, I don't offer advice. And even then, I'm very careful. So for example, I've had callers, and I continue to have callers who are married and or dating. They tell me that they're happy in their relationship, but they need more. So immediately my mind goes to, well, if you're not satisfied, you need to move on because you will inevitably cheat, whatever that means. So I keep my mouth shut until a question is asked of me. What should I do? That's a pretty open question. What do you mean, what should you do? In regards to what? Now, I need to put them on the spot and have them tell me a little more in regards to not having enough sex, not being able to role play, or whatever the case is. That's up to you. What do you want? I turn it back around on them most of the time. That's how this conversation is going to work out, because it gets them thinking what's important to you. it's really all about what is important to that person. If it's everything is great but the sex, I wouldn't say leave. I would say talk to your partner and figure it out. Go to therapy, figure it out. If you don't want to do that and try to work it out, whether it being talking to them or getting therapy, then the solution or the resolution is quite challenging. I really don't know what to say. So I have conversations with them, but I don't necessarily give them suggestions. I give them suggestions on how to improve, not you should stay or you should leave, which is really what people want oftentimes. They want permission from someone they don't know. I don't know why. Who am I? I'm not anybody in their life. But they think that I'm an expert at what I do, and I am, but my expertise is limited in having phone sex, having role plays, that type of thing, not one-on-one relationships. I could fake that, of course, but I don't want them to call me back saying you ruined my life or whatever it is. I mean, that hasn't happened in all the years I've talked to people, but there's always a first. So I don't offer advice in any way that I'd say leave her or you fool around on her and stay married. I don't want to say that. They have to come up with their own solution or a resolution to their situation. I have no problem talking it out. I have no problem even offering examples or suggestions, but I'm very careful on how I say it because I certainly don't want someone writing me saying you forced me or told me to do X, Y, or Z when I didn't. And I will always say, well, what do you think about that? What are your thoughts? What are you thinking? What are you thinking of doing or saying? Or how do you feel? I have no problem with that. And I will talk and talk and talk, but I will not tell them what to do. Another person came to me recently and said, what is the point of phone sex? Why not just go on one of those sites where you can watch porn for free? And we've talked about this. Well, I've talked about it. I brought it up. I mean, why not go watch cam girls? Why not just look at porn? There are different levels of porn out there. You can still buy a magazine. You can still watch a movie. You can still go on a website. You can still go on a website just like Pornhub or something. You can still go on a website and watch free live people going at it. You can call me. There's all different types of ways to get off out there. So is one better than the other? It's all a matter of taste. The answer is there are a zillion restaurants out there and everybody's got a different taste. So like I say, people love to watch porn movies. People love to watch webcam of single girls. People love to watch couples of any kind of mix. And some like the anonymity of just hearing a voice and closing their eyes and visualizing or fantasizing about what we're talking about. There's no right or wrong. There might be something that's more popular, but phone is still available. Phone is still around. People don't get it. I get it, but people don't get it. They don't want to look at someone and be judged. If they have something to say, you can't talk to a cam girl. Well, you can, but you got to pay for it. It's extra. And so at least you have options and they're all viable and they all work, but they don't work for everyone. Not everyone wants to call. Not everybody wants to watch porn. Maybe you want to do all of it. Who knows? Men are visual. There's no question. But if you shut your eyes, like I said, you can imagine something and a girl is talking to you that could work for you. So all the options that are available to you, you just have to pick the right one or ones, because I talk to guys who do a lot of different things and they watch porn and they call me and they call other girls. And I've heard recently that one of my callers, actually many of my callers, I'm not on all the time. So am I to think that I am the golden voice and wisdom and knowledge and hottest girl out there? No. I am not the only girl they talk to. They've made it abundantly clear I might be their favorite, but I am not the only one. And so, since I'm not the only one, they've told me, they talk to me about certain things and they talk to the other girls about certain things because those other girls don't want to talk about the same stuff that we talk about. And it works out in their favor. All channels of porn, if you will, of sex, whatever, is available and viable. And you may think that you might think that phone sex is outdated or whatever because there's so much available to you. It might be, but here I am still doing it 23 years later. Hey, good for me. I recently got a message that said, I want you to call me the N-word. He wrote it out, but I'm not saying it. Yell at me. Tell me to kill myself. I want you to hate me and make me cry. Make fun of me for being 30 years old plus and still living with my parents watching tranny kissing porn. I work as a janitor and use all my money here and on OnlyFans. I want you to yell at me and make me cry. I read this a couple times, actually, before I responded. And I said, hi, I'm sorry, I'm not comfortable doing that. It's just not my nature. Well, it's not my nature, and I'm not going to do that and make someone cry and call them names and all of that stuff. I get zero pleasure out of it. And to be honest, like I said, it's not about me, it's about them. I've said it before, I do not like being mean for the sake of being mean. It does not work for me. And so I'm not going to do that. And it makes me sad when people write me about these things because there's something in them that they get off on it, but I can't do it. I'm sorry. I can't do that. I know these guys get off on having a white woman say the N-word to them and be really mean and aggressive and assertive and boss-like. But again, I have my boundaries, and that is one of them. And I think in life, in general, we all have boundaries, or we're working on it if we don't. Again, I have a friend who said, but you're a phone sex girl and you should do all of it. There's a yes and a no to that. I don't have to do all of it. In the beginning, I knew I had to, but now I don't have to. And so I get pleasure knowing that I don't have to do it. I want to please everyone, as you know, but you just can't, and I won't. So that person will have to find someone else, and they will be abused by them, and they will be very happy. So earlier in this podcast, I made this noise. Sounds like I'm clapping, but really what it is when someone calls me and wants me to spank my butt or a sound of any particular kind. You have to be creative. So I know this sounds really weird, but it's on the phone. So I use my finger to make sounds of giving a blowjob. And let me tell you that a lot of people want me to gag while I'm giving them a blowjob. So I will give you, I can't believe I'm doing this, but I will give you a sound, some kind of sound that I perform while I'm talking to these guys. I think I've known you long enough now that I can tell you or sample you a gagging sound, if you will. So be patient with me. Let me try this. So I stick my finger in my mouth, and this is what it sounds like. Like that. Now, everybody loves it. That is the quintessential sound that they all love. And then, of course, a sloppy blowjob is just me slopping all over my finger. So that is I don't even use a toy. It's my finger. It's all my finger. When people want to hear other things, they say, stick your fingers in your pussy. I want to hear it. The fortunate thing is that I have a earpiece, a headset, just around my ear, Bluetooth. So in the olden days, I would take the phone and put it down by my genitalia, no, by my pussy, and I would do that, or I would have water, or I would do something very creative so that they could hear it. Nowadays, luckily, nobody really asks anymore because they know it's a to-do to actually hear something. But blowjobs are a big one. I want you to give me a sloppy blowjob, and then, I stick my finger in my mouth and I start sucking on it. There have been a couple of occasions where I almost really gagged. And of course, that just makes it all so much better when it sounds more real. Oh my gosh, if you would just see me sitting on my couch doing these things, I would roll my eyes at myself. And I do. So I don't find it utterly ridiculous. I just find it humorous. I'm not crocheting like the people on TV. When you watch movies, they're doing dishes and stuff. You can't do that. It makes too much noise. But I do other things, like sucking on my finger to give a guy a blowjob. So that, and like I said, slapping myself, that's me hitting my butt. Not really, but it sounds like it kind of. And so there you go. Just some sound effects for you. I had a caller the other night who is a regular. And it's so sweet and it's so cute when people know I live in California and they really don't know California very well. So I'll tell them, I live in an area which is not my area. And this caller called to have phone sex, but he was very concerned about the recent fires in California. And he wanted to make sure that I wasn't near the fires, that I was okay and that I was safe. And we had this conversation before our phone sex. And then afterwards, he brought it up again, saying, I'm really happy that you're safe and that you're well. And that is very sweet. I find that to be very sweet. So like I've said, people do have attachments and they do care about their phone sex person. So it's really nice. I just find it very nice, like I said. I was just editing my podcast and I wanted to say this. So as I was editing my podcast, I heard what it sounded like to stick my finger in my mouth and give a phone sex blowjob. And if I do say so myself, I thought it sounded pretty good and authentic. So yay me. Sorry, I just had to throw that in there. I couldn't help but go, wow, that sounded pretty good. So anyway, that's all for now. Thank you for listening to Secrets from a Phone Sex Queen, everything you always wanted to know about phone sex and more. Please reach out to me with your questions and comments at phonesexqueen1, the number 1, @gmail.com. New episodes drop every Monday. Check me out on Facebook at CJ's Podcast. It changed. So this one's better. It's CJ's Podcast, Instagram and TikTok at PhoneQueen1. If you're listening on YouTube, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you get notified when a new podcast is dropped. And until next time, stay sexy.